Shalom, salam alaikum, kif halik, keifakum, shlonek, merhaba, konnichiwa, ni hao, namaste, privyet, bonjour, buongiorno, saludos, hola, dag haj, baraviak shimash, je suis Ali, Anna Alex. I am the CEO of Orca Oshi Capital Management and electronic dance music DJ with music coming soon. Don't come for me, by the way, you all. It's been one of those days, and my belt is a makeshift charger because that's what we need to do in life. Be more innovative and creative with things around us. With that said, buy now, pay later. People are paying 36.9% interest on buy now, pay later, which they're using for essentials such as groceries. So anytime people are going to Publix and somehow inserting buy now, pay later, it's a form of predatory lending, in my personal humble opinion. Yikes. You all, America, we've gone from Steve Jobs to no jobs and freedom to free stuff. I think that message has proven to be ineffective. I do have a script written down, but as for now, let's just keep talking. I keep hearing the markets, and let's see what they're talking about now. Mortgage rates jumped to the highest since '02. I actually find Bloomberg to be the only credible source, and I'll take their word for it. I was going to talk about home foreclosures and how they're up 10% year to date, and also 1 in 5,361 homes in the United States of America are now in foreclosure. A couple weeks ago, it was 1 in 6,000, to get that number very precise. The average mortgage on a 30-year fixed with beautiful credit is 7 point, depending on where you're looking. So bankrate.com has different, I think they had it at 7.4 at one time. So wherever you're getting your data. So we have $1.8 trillion in student loans, which resumed payment in October. About the average 400 to 500 per person who owes a student loan. It's about 16% of our population. And allegedly, based on a survey, and I never know how to take surveys. I've never been asked to take one, so I don't know if they're real or not, but if so, then about 56% of people surveyed said they'll have to pick between groceries or paying their student loans. It does make me wonder what the hell they were doing this whole time. However, let's just keep going. 1.6 trillion in auto loans. I remember we now have 1 in 20,000, not 1 in, just 20,000 auto repos a day. It was 15,000 at last video, and I'm finding statistics to back that it could be anywhere between 15 to 20,000 auto repos a day. So let's break it down. If you cannot drive to get to work, and you get fired, being the jobless claims came in at 238 or 9,000, and the week, I would say 39,000, and the week before was 248. I guess I have to look at my notations now, but nonetheless, okay, I was 239, and last week was 248. Pound it out. I like to be very precise when I'm giving data and analytics. I find it to be so important. Unlike the people with luxury branded degrees who still don't understand, our Federal Reserve does not print the money, people. I'm not sure how those people are not flagged for misinformation. I'm sorry if I'm spitting anger or venom towards the camera, but it's quite insidiously pervasive to my soul when I hear people say, the Federal Reserve prints the money. I'm thinking, no, they don't. The Treasurer does. The one that was... Janet Yellen, let me say this. I know flights are to resume in U.S. to China, October something, and to aviation. However, I saw Miss Yellen had a great time eating magic mushrooms in China. Of course, she didn't hallucinate, no different than Bill Clinton not inhaling marijuana. Because, of course, when psilocybin mushrooms are cooked, the chemicals go away. For anybody that went to a public university, we all know about it, right? Hypothetically, allegedly. I don't have a problem with that. You do you. What I have a problem with is what came from our treasurer's trip to China aside from her edibles with psychedelics. Nope, again, you do you. Did we get anything accomplished? Because I didn't see that. I didn't see any type of bilateral agreement. Again, we are the largest debtor nation, 70% GDP economy. And then China's the largest creditor nation. And I keep seeing people talk about China's capitulating their economy. And I'm thinking, that means that the United States of America is capital F, because we rely on China for everything. What don't we rely on China for? Hell, the 4th of July, we celebrate with Chinese fireworks. We are not an independent country. We are a codependent country, which does not look good. We've got industrial in America down, continuing to go down in a quote unquote recession. And again, I always predicted this, like a Splash Mountain Disney ride of sectors going down, and then they would use the word recession because right now they can't, because when you have regional banks holding 60% above commercial mortgage-backed securities, yikes. I love a good sale. 60 to 90% off potentially in relation to buildings, but the red flags are flying. But shout out to the people in merger acquisition, M&A. You guys are about to crush it, and I'm rooting for you. And I'm gracious, by the way, for any of you and every one of you who slide into the DMs and introduce yourself and begin a dialogue. Because as the contrarian of all contrarians, I feel like as a female my age, it is very, sometimes mentally lonely to think that I'm seeing what others are not. Oh yeah, we've got credit card debt that's past $1 trillion. The first time in America. Yay, we're just setting some world records that are not healthy. But I guess that's how people can afford going to Taylor Swift concerts. Thank God I'm an electronic dance music DJ and create my own music instead of listening to other people's. Granted, of course, I always remix other people's. No shade towards her, just the average APR on a credit card is also the highest it's ever been. Here we go, another round of applause. 25%. Let's talk about the Middle East, though. 5 out of the 10 best lenders, investors of 2022. Ana Macarabia, Batman Salam They'll Kill. As I have stated, and I am not touting my own horn or tooting it, whichever, I don't know the proper saying, but I keep telling you all the Middle East is where it's thriving. The Middle East is going to thrive. They're doing very, very intelligent tech projects to innovation, and they know how to invest in their people versus buy into stories such as intersectional divisiveness. They don't give a shit what Snow White's going through. However, that somehow was a headline that even popped up on my feed. ... Let's keep going. Sorry that I didn't take the password off my phone, which now probably half of you know. But the Belt Road Initiative, a lot of people don't talk about. China created as infrastructure project to stretch around the globe. We have the BRICS nation meetings coming up in South Africa, August 22nd. I'm awful with dates, so not only will I be changing my password, but bear with me. We have 40 countries that have applied for the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. For some reason, people keep trying to include Saudi Arabia. No. Saudi Arabia has shown interest recently into the BRICS, well, not recently, but just into the BRICS nations and also into the Shanghai. I'm not going to butcher this name, so we'll go back to my notations and me password changing after this. But what can I say? Yeah, they have a meeting the 22nd, and I am not anywhere near where I want to be. Oh, credit card delinquency rate is 7.2. I wonder how much higher that's going to be next week. And okay, there we go. Oh no, right here, perfect. I'm right on target. Shanghai Cooperation Organization. I want to make sure to articulate myself very, very well. Represents, it's the largest military financial in the world and represents 60% of Eurasian land mass and 40% of global GDP. America, you all, can we not see? I mean, maybe because I was a geek and made fun of my whole life for being hideous and ugly and stupid and worthless, and basically any bad thing you could say to myself was said to me by other people. And I was never invited to parties. Maybe I can see that our country is being treated as the outcast. You guys, we're the outcast. We're not being invited to play. And that's all I'm going to say. Now, interest rates, ironically, so Latin America very much got into and say, ¿Dónde eres les caliente latinas? Pesos. So 790% of interest rates on loans have hit South America. Not pretty. And South America in relation to fintech specifically is what I'm referring to. I could also, again, the statistics were not as giving as I would like them to be, but there we are. It's too much, you all. I need friends. Anybody want to be my friend? Or I need to get a life, because the U.S. record, or now has a record 17.1 trillion in household debt, 12 trillion in mortgage, 1.6 in auto loans, 1.8 trillion in student loans, and 1.3 in credit card debt. Yikes. 36% of Americans have more credit card debt than savings. I'm not shocked about that one, being that we are a 70% GDP economy, but buy now, pay later is going to be the predatory lending that we saw in the financial crisis. Granted, I was blackout drunk then. I'm going to be completely transparent and honest. However, it seems as though I have made up for lost time. Just the fact that we have auto loan asset-backed securities just blows my mind. Now, shout out to people doing it right. And someone, I literally listened to this person speak, and Oak Tree Capital, Howard Marks. I mean, as a Jewish girl looking up to him, just wow, contrarian, just extraordinary investor. And I promise you all, listening to him speak literally is what will codify my soul, and I can take a nap, because what makes dollars makes sense. And then he gets it. He was on the Evergrande train. He just, his intelligence, if I just, hail to the king. I'll call a founding father when I see one, and he gets it. His $18 billion for private credit fund is just sensational. His understanding of knowing that alternative assets right now are what will be the most profitable, hypothetically, allegedly, he's just so brilliant. And if you all don't know who that is, you should. And I've asked too many people who do not. You should. So let's talk about the digital yuan, the mBridge project. Those are still central bank digital currency pilot payment system testing, still going on. Not much to report there, except over 120 plus countries are working on theirs. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Except PayPal is introducing a stable coin, I saw, which I found to be interesting and not maybe the worst news ever. I do want to talk about how sanctions do cause starvation. And I think I can close with this. Central bank digital currency race is on, because people don't want to be regulated by the USD. This is why we see the BRICS nations in relation to the alternative currency and the de-dollarization project. And sanctions do cause starvation. And we look at Venezuela. Please stop comparing America to Venezuela. It's nothing like that. Nicolas Maduro is not the causation. He's sitting on a gold mine, quite literally. And he's a hell of a lot more democratic than most people. Let me just say, if you all had the $1 billion in gold plus that were belonging to you sitting in a UK bank and didn't get it back, most people would go scorch hell on earth. He pursued civil litigation in the UK, which again, I find to just be so humorous and democratic. But piss poor US financial policy using sanctions causes starvation, causes socialism. And I'm so angry that somebody had the audacity to call me while I'm trying to film one of these, because I like to do one take and be done with it. I don't edit, so hopefully these videos will merge. But dollar homogeny is losing its popularity. We have Iraqi oil gas exports up 30% plus coming in to the US. And confusing, they just took the yuan for currency diversity, which was a smart move from our playbook. But we are in such a peril of times, and we can't ever, history doesn't repeat itself, as Mark Twain says. Yeah, it is oddly familiar. Conjecture, don't come for me, Mark Twain fans. Nonetheless, we're not in good shape. And I understand why the big banks won't call the word recession, especially with the top four with 210 trillion of toxic assets, hypothetically, allegedly, just reading Not even sure. I do question, again, the Federal Reserve stress test and how many banks passed, but now we see potential downgrades. Remember, this has happened before too, our nation's debt being downgraded, and the world did not end. People are using it as a sensationalistic motive. I do want to close as well by talking about retail investors amusing the hell out of me and me not understanding how certain hedge funds have not understood, which perfect, great. And also another thing to end on. So if you all have not figured it out by now, 20% compared to what was not. We have 20% of investors are retail investors. That's a nice chunk of the market that can move it using Reddit and Twitter. Just keep that in your noggin. And here's something, hypothetically, allegedly, I'm not saying I do it, I've ever done it, I'm not giving any financial advice. This is all hypothetical, alleged. For those that have asked me where I find interest in the markets right now, because I call it a manatee zone, or one of the gates rising, like you're on a boat and you're waiting for the gate to rise, and it's just one of those that takes too long, or you're in a manatee zone that takes too long. But I hypothetically, allegedly believe that we'll be hitting the brakes, I mean, hitting the reverse in the boat instead of moving forward. Personal opinion, don't come for me. I mean, we only have the worst commercial real estate bubble ever and student loan bubble ever, especially student loan asset-backed securities on collateral. But if I had to conjure a solid space to camp out in that is not going anywhere, and maybe because I have all male followings, I get super pumped talking about this. You all heard of dermal fillers or Botox? Because Botox itself, 360% in a year. And that was during the pandemic. Remember when offices were closed and people couldn't get actual surgery they needed? Allergan Alley, nice merger acquisition right there. Shout out to whomever did it. But Botox, Juvederm, people, a cosmetic surgery, it's called dermal fillers. And I figured, why not, instead of getting them, why not invest in it, hypothetically, allegedly? Because the dermal filler market doesn't seem to be going anywhere due to social media and everybody wanting the same face. I'm actually shocked when I saw 8.5% of actual plastic invasive surgery is for minors, and the dermal filler market is making up around 60% plus, and people are going into debt and financing this shit, you all. I can't think of anything better. People are all about the Ozempic train, and I couldn't tell you who made Ozempic, and I don't even know what that does. But don't take medicine from people who need it. However, Botox, Restylane, people changing their faces. People now have doing something called a Barbie neck lift. Some guy even injected into his filler. So apparently it's not just for the ladies. Google me, fact check me. This will disturb you even more so, and exactly why I say America's going to hell in a handbasket. And on the parent if isn't DeSantis pre-politions dans Amerique. I'll leave you with that. And also remember, keep a VPN on your phone because you don't ever want to get keystroke logged. We're living in the era of hackers, and especially if you watch pornography, more than likely you already have a keystroke logger in your phone. So put a virtual private network on. And is there anything good going on back here? No, but one more fact. I believe China is opening coal mines every week. I read that statistic. It could be wrong, like other things I read, but I try to double check and triple check, and that kind of blew my mind. So remember, if China's not doing well, America's doing worse. And I'm back. Je t'aime, te amo, bisu, besu, bachi. I love you all. I'm out. Feel free, slide in the DMs, leave your comments in the C section. I want to know what you all think. Feel free, trolls, do your thing. And also, I'm not pregnant. This just so happens to be a makeshift belt from a USB Android charger.